Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 246 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Eilon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and a two-time author. Our second book is called From Letters to Leaders, Redefining New Member Education and Leveraging Belonging to Eliminate Hazing. That's available now on Amazon. Go and pick up that book today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there's nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, the one place in the world that I haven't been yet is Hawaii. And we even have some family that lives out there that we haven't been able to visit yet. My father and my stepmother have been there probably about 20 times already. And every time they come back with even better photos of all the fun things that they did on the islands. So I'm sitting here super jealous that our next guest gets to live there year round. Are you kidding me? Oh my goodness. Our next guest is Dr. Thomas Hemingway MD. He is a holistic and integrative medical doctor who lives and shares his personal and professional philosophy of prevention over prescription and is passionate about sharing the message of natural health and healing through powerful practices which are simple, doable, and can be life-saving. He has the goal of saving 100 million lives by optimizing health and wellness through natural means. He has recently written a book. It's called Preventable, 5 Powerful Practices to Avoid Disease and Build Unshakable Health. That is due out in August of 2022. So make sure you mark your calendars and go and pick up that book. He also loves sharing this message in his top-rated health podcast. It's called Modern Medicine Movement, where he is known for distilling down the latest medical knowledge and science into easily digestible and actionable steps, which can change our lives in the present and in the future. He's also a husband, a proud father to 6 wonderful humans with whom he enjoys spending time in the outdoors, surfing, snowboarding, skiing, hiking, skateboarding, mountaineering, and even playing tennis. Welcome to the show, Dr. Hemingway.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me, Mike. Super pumped, super grateful to be here. What a pleasure.
Yeah, man, I am just super excited that you're on the show today because you have so much great information to share with all of our college student listeners. And I'm sure they're kind of curious about your background because you decided on Brigham Young University, Hawaii, for your undergraduate experience. Now, I definitely understand why someone would want to be in Hawaii for college. I mean, you got the sun, you got the surf, only to name a couple. So why was that the right choice for your studies in biology and chemistry?
Yeah, great question. You know, I've always been of the sort of mindset that in order to work really hard, you have to play just as hard. And so for me, I mean, I've always been an early riser. I would literally get up at 5 a.m. before the sunrise every day, go surfing, check that off the list, and then I'd study the rest of the day. And the university is on a pretty small campus in a rural part of the island, not in Honolulu. It's about an hour away on the North Shore. And besides the amazing surf, like literally the world's best waves, there's no other distraction. There's no, there's nothing happening in that rural area. So I was actually able to really focus on my studies. You know, I graduated top of my class. And so the work hard, play hard thing actually worked great for me. And it was a great environment. I was focused, and I also got to surf the best waves in the world. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, I see some of these schools, like I'm thinking about like Cal State Long Beach and some of these other places where like their backyard are really some of the most beautiful beaches in the country. And I'm sitting here just looking out, you know, literally where you can fall out the window and you land in the sand where the college students are living at Long Beach. And I'm like, how do you even focus on college and your studies when the beach is so close? Like, I don't know how you do that. I would have so much difficulty just focusing on the studies, but obviously you did it. So there you go.
It's possible. And you know what? It's way, for me, it was super enjoyable. I've always been of the mindset that not only, should you enjoy the final destination, but you should enjoy the ride, the journey.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of us check things off the list. We want to be a college graduate. We want to go to medical school, law school, whatever it is. We want to own a business. But if we don't enjoy the process, like life is too short. You got to enjoy the ride also. So
Yeah.
it's worked for me.
Yeah, you make a great point. We do have to enjoy the ride because otherwise, why do it, right? I mean, and speaking of med school, I mean, you received your Doctor of Medicine from UC San Diego. So I guess I'm wondering, why did you decide to go the route of board certified physician? I'm sure you had a lot of choices in terms of what you wanted to do with your
Oh, absolutely. No, certainly lots of options. I've always been fascinated with science, the human body. I initially was interested in research, and I just felt like I really wanted to work hands-on with people, individually to be able to help them in their time of need. I must admit, I was of the generation, when the Doogie Howser show was in vogue and the original ER with George Clooney, 20 plus years ago, like these influenced me and my decision. I became initially an ER doctor because I love that sort of adrenaline and I love to help people real time. And so getting my doctorate in medicine from UCSD, which is one of the top 10 schools in the nation, it just made sense to me at the time. And so, yeah, it's been a great decision.
Yeah, all those med shows were all the rage. I remember Doogie Howser and ER. I mean, it was all the rage. Everybody was watching. And so you couldn't really get away from it. So I totally get that. It makes a lot of sense. I do want to talk to you about nutrition because the college students who are listening right now, number one, they don't have a lot of time. They're super busy. Everything is on the go. And then number two, they don't have a lot of money. They're broke, so they have no money to spend on food. So how can the college students who are listening right now, how can they eat for energy, clarity, weight loss, and maybe even get to the best health of their life without dieting?
Yeah, so this is a super important concept, and let me just tell you that number one, it is possible to eat amazing, high quality, nutritious food on a limited budget. It is possible, not just because I say so, but the studies actually show this. There's been a lot of research out there that has looked into, how expensive is it to eat healthy food, and actually even considering the huge benefits of preventing all the illness that comes down the road if you eat a crappy diet, like literally billions and billions of dollars could be saved annually in the US alone. They estimate about $150 billion a year could be saved if we actually ate healthy rather than ate all of these prepackaged processed foods, which ultimately cause us problems from obesity to heart disease, diabetes, all these kinds of things. That not only will we save money in the end, but actually even real time, you can save money by eating healthy. And let me explain how, because it's a little bit counterintuitive. First of all, as you and I know, if you go out to eat, doesn't matter what restaurant, it could be an expensive one, it could be a fast food joint. Like nowadays, I mean, even if you're going to, heaven forbid, McDonald's or something, you get one of these meals and it's like almost $10,
Mhm.
and if you cook for yourself and if you plan ahead, and I know for a college student, like I was there. I've been there, done that. I know the drill. It's sometimes hard to plan ahead, but literally, if you can just take a little bit of time and plan ahead, make a grocery list, cook your food. You can even do it all in one day. Do it on the weekend. You can have food for the whole week. It will actually save you time, save you money, and you know what you're eating. You know the quality of your food. So it can actually save you money in the end when you cook at home, when you take a home lunch, when you buy real food and you avoid all of those processed things that are not only in the restaurants, but literally in everything that comes with what I like to say the three B's in a box, in a bag, or with a barcode. If you can avoid that food, you can eat not only super well. I mean, I was just talking to Mike before the show, and we were talking about my trip to Portugal this last week. And like these guys eat amazing, high quality, super delicious, fresh food each and every day. And they do it for much cheaper than the average cost of something that comes in a package. And it tastes amazing. There's something to be said about the Mediterranean diet. So it can be done, but it may take a little bit of planning and a little bit of diligence and whatnot, but it's definitely possible. You can eat healthy and eat on a budget. The studies show it. I've lived it. And there's a couple other resources we can talk about that can help, because I know, like, when you think about it, organic food, you hear sort of the buzzwords, well, oh my gosh, it just costs more, right?
Mhm.
Organic is more expensive than non-organic. But there are certain foods that you can kind of like comfortably buy that are not organic that can save you money. For example, anything that you eat that's real food that comes with a peel, a rind, a shell, so to speak. Like for me, I love avocados. They're like my favorite fruit. Yeah, guys, avocado is a fruit, but I love them. And I can be comfortable buying a non organic avocado because I'm not eating the shell. I'm not eating, I take that off and I scoop out the inside. Same goes with a banana or an orange. And there's this group out there, it's called Environmental Working Group, EWG.org, which has a fantastic list of foods that you can kind of comfortably buy that are non-organic, which is basically all the stuff that comes with a peel or a rind or a shell, even like pineapple. Mike wants to go to Hawaii. You can feel comfortable buying pineapple that's not organic because you're not eating the skin. Like, who would want to eat the skin of a pineapple? Like, it would feel like fish bones going down your throat. It's pokey and you cut that stuff off. So there's also a list they have called the Dirty Dozen, which are things that you want to buy organic. And it kind of makes sense. These are the things that you put in your mouth right away, like strawberries, raspberries, grapes, these kind of things that you eat the whole thing, that you don't peel off, the outer covering. So check it out, ewg.org. It's a great nonprofit that really has some great advice on how you can get high quality food, even if it's non-organic.
Those are some great tips. You're going to save me some money this weekend when I go to the grocery store. I'm not going to buy the organic. You're going to save me some real money.
It does save money, man. I got 6 kids, and I pick and choose. I definitely buy organic berries, but if I'm buying bananas or avocados or things that I'm not eating the peel, I'm not that much of a stickler there, because it does make a difference in the wallet. That's for sure.
Yeah, I love those tips. Those are absolutely great. The next thing I wanted to talk to you about is sleep, because the college students right now, I'm going to tell you straight up, they are not sleeping enough. They are listening to this podcast right now, and I'm telling you, they're completely exhausted right at this moment. So how can college students optimize their sleep?
Yeah, a couple of super easy and free health tips right here with respect to sleep. The first one is, when you first wake up in the morning, if you get some exposure to light in the first 1 to 2 hours of the day, you walk outside, literally it can be as little as 5 minutes. You can just take one quick lap around your dorm room or your fraternity house, wherever you're living, and just get exposed to natural light. That will help set your biological clock or circadian rhythm and help to encourage a great night's sleep. Just with a few minutes of light exposure in the early morning, super, super important. Most people have no idea that getting high quality sleep starts in the daytime. The second quick free tip I have for you is that in the evening, before you go to bed, and this is probably the hardest one for college students, is to avoid blue light exposure right before bed. So at least an hour before bed, kind of wind down without your cell phone, without the TV, without your iPad or device in your face. Read a book or take a warm bath or do some journaling, or work on some homework that doesn't involve staring into a computer screen for at least that last 1 hour before bedtime. And those 2 tips can make a huge difference.
Wow, I learned something today, Dr. Hemingway. I'm going to try that. And I know all of our college students can do this. Just go for a walk for 5 minutes in the morning, get exposed to that sun, which is probably good for your mental health as well, just to take a quick walk in the morning and feel the sun on your face. And then in the evening, just stay away from electronics in that last hour. I mean, I know how hard that is. People call me a TikTok star these days. So I get how hard this can be, but just stay away from the last hour. And I think that according to Dr. Hemingway, you're going to have better sleep. So I can't wait to try that. I know everybody listening is going to try that today. So that's fantastic. Now, you wrote this book. It's called Preventable: 5 Powerful Pearls to Avoiding Devastating Disease and Build Unshakeable Health. Right now, our college students, I'm telling you, there's a ton of negative stress on these college students right now. You're talking about anxiety, with a war going on. You're talking about, oh my gosh, I mean, what's going on with the Supreme Court at the moment? You're thinking about the pandemic that we're, getting through. I mean, there's so many things that are going on right now that are like triggering to college students. But what you say is that 90% of the serotonin, which is really the happy hormone in our body, that's produced in our gut, of all places. So how do they turn that stress that they're feeling right now into positive growth for success?
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite topics, and in the book I dedicate, this is one of the sort of 5 paramount, foundations to unshakable health, and one of them is exactly this: optimizing your stress, because we all have it. One of the landmark studies about stress happened about 10 years ago in 2012, and at that point in time, they estimated about 80% of us have some significant stress over the course of the year. And then, of course, in these sort of last couple of years of the pandemic, that number is escalated to nearly 100% of us have some significant stress, at least annually. And what was interesting about this study is it was a giant study. I mean, they used, I think their end, so to speak, was 100 and nearly 150,000 people. And what they found was that those that suffered the negative outcomes from stress was not what you might think. In other words, they asked people to report, do they have a high level of stress, a medium level of stress, or very little stress? And so you would think that those that reported the high level of stress would be the ones that had the negative outcomes. Well, that only was true if they not only had a high level of stress, but here's the clincher right here, if they believed that stress was bad for them, if they believed that it was a negative thing. It's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, it's your belief or your meaning that you attach to something will really determine the overall outcome in the future. And so when they looked at this group, it was only those who believed that stress was bad for them that had all of these negative consequences. In fact, they had a 43% increase in their risk of death in the coming years if they believed stress was bad for them. Now, the other half of this group that had the highest level of reported stress that did not believe that it was bad for them, they actually had a positive benefit. In other words, they actually lived longer, better, and healthier and didn't have the negative outcome because of the meaning that they attached to the stress. They said, hey, you know what? Like, it's like you guys in college, you got an exam coming up. Like, if you believe that exam is going to be bad and it's not going to go well, hey, you're probably right. It probably won't go well. But if you prepare for it and then you believe that you're going to crush that exam because you put in the time and you're going to attack it as something that you can, accomplish and grow from, like, you're going to do so much better. And there's a lot of data in college students exactly with respect to that. And it's all about what happens up here in your head. You get to choose the meaning you attach to it. So that's kind of the short story. There's definitely more to that, and I have a whole course on stress that's available, but the meaning that you attach to it is so important, and it should not be underestimated.
Wow, the mind is a powerful tool. Wow, that's just absolutely incredible. Now, I know you're really into sports. You're into all these outdoor activities. I'm sure, you're working out, doing all kinds of exercises on a daily basis. I think for college students, the issue is a couple of things. Number one, the time, and number two, maybe the money to go and join a gym might be keeping them out of the gym. So what are some simple exercises that college students can do right from their dorm room to increase their mood and their energy without having to pay a gym membership?
Oh man, I got so many of these here. I'll just hit a couple of highlights. One is, this sounds crazy, but it's like the cheapest investment ever. It's a cardboard box. And you're like, what the heck? What could I do with a cardboard box? Well, let me tell you, if you stand up while you study, while you read, while you work. I work from home currently. I coach, I write, I do research, and I don't even have a standing desk many places. I basically use an Amazon box, right? That's been taped up, and I put my computer on top of that and I stand at the desk. And that way you can avoid the whole thing. You guys have heard people say, sitting is the new smoking or what have you, because actually the more hours we spend on our butts, that increases our chance of not only dying, but of cancer, of heart disease, of all these things when we're sedentary. So a simple thing I have for you is a cardboard box, put it on your desk, put your laptop on top of that, and just stand up to do the majority of your work. And not only will that help you stay awake, like, trust me, as a college student myself, formerly, I would fall asleep studying. And in those days, nobody told me about the power of standing. Like, I would fall asleep at my desk and then my head would go down and rest on the desk. But if you're standing, it's way harder to fall asleep. So that's my first tip. Get a cardboard box, make it a standing desk. The second tip is, there's a lot of really quick exercises that you can do with no weights, with no gym, with no equipment that are super helpful. One is a simple plank. If you guys don't know what a plank is, just Google it, see how you do that. You can just start with 30 seconds of doing a plank and then try to work up to 1 minute. Do it a couple of times a day. Like, the studies show that every 1 hour you spend, whether it be at work or studying in school, whatever it is, you should at least take 2 to 5 minutes to do something that moves your body. This can be as simple as walking to the restroom, getting a little bit of outdoor time, doing a 5-minute lap around your dorm room. Or what I do is I buy from Amazon, I'm not promoting Amazon, but I buy free weights that are real cheap, and I keep them literally at the foot of my desk. And so I'll pick up free weights every hour and I'll do a couple of quick weight exercises, or I'll just do a plank. It takes 1 minute. But man, you guys do a plank for 1 or 2 minutes, you are invigorated. There are other things like burpees and air squats and lunges and push-ups. Those are kind of my favorite. Pull-ups as well. You can buy a little pull-up bar that you can hang from almost any doorway. Like, those are my top favorite things for movement at home. Don't require gym, all very inexpensive, and they could be a game changer for you.
Man, I love these tips because it's something that college students can easily do without a budget. You're like literally saying, just get an empty cardboard box, put it on your desk, put your laptop on it, and then stand instead of sitting on your butt all day. I mean, that's something that anybody who's listening can do. You don't have to pay a lot of money for that fancy standing desk that you see on TV in the infomercials. You don't need to spend all that money. Just get a cardboard box. You got a cardboard box?
That's what I do. It sounds crazy, but whatever works.
I love it. I think that's great. And you know what? Like, I work out every morning, and that's what I do first thing is I work out in the morning, and that's part of my routine. But maybe I should like split it up evenly throughout the day instead of doing everything on the front end. And kind of take your suggestion and maybe just do 5 minutes every hour or something like that. And by the end of the day, I'm all set.
Absolutely. Yeah. Keep doing your workouts in the morning, but just add a couple of minutes every hour. And not only will you be more rejuvenated, energized, vital, focused, but it actually kind of makes it a little bit fun. I
Yeah.
hate to use the word fun, but exercise can be fun.
Fun is great. And I think also just getting outside and, feeling the sun on your skin. I mean, these are things that really will help to kind of clear the mind a little bit and then get you focused for the next hour. So I love all of it. I think that's fantastic. Now, one other thing that I know you're really knowledgeable about is this thing called inflammation. So what can college students do to eliminate inflammation, which you call the root of all disease? I mean, explain that, because I don't think our college students understand inflammation and what that's all about.
Yeah, so you are correct. I mean, literally every disease you can think about, from heart disease, which is the #1 killer, down to cancer, diabetes, obesity, kidney disease, they all have at their root a problem with inflammation. So there's two kinds of inflammation. One is like, when you injure yourself and immediately you have the good cells, which are the white blood cells, go and attack the area and make sure that the, bacteria gets taken care of and things like that, and that you heal. That's the good kind of inflammation. That lasts for a day or two. The bad kind of inflammation is the kind that lasts a lifetime or weeks or months or years, the chronic inflammation. And the main way to break that cycle of inflammation is with what lands at the end of your fork. So we got to go back to the food. This is a food podcast. We love to eat. And if you eat real food, stuff that doesn't come with a label, that doesn't come in a bag or a box or with a barcode, that's actual stuff that you can, appreciate, what it is. It doesn't have a list of 500 ingredients of impossible this or impossible that. And you're like, I don't understand half of the stuff that's in there. You got to eat the real stuff. You got to eat real food. So plain and simple, real food is the opposite, the antithesis of inflammation. In fact, if you want to Google just what's an anti-inflammatory diet, what are you going to find? It's all the real food, all the processed stuff is inflammatory, especially the sugars, the flours, the grains and highly processed ones that are out there, which make up, unfortunately, in the US, the studies show we eat about 60% of our daily food from a bag, a box, or something with a barcode, which is processed. And that's not awesome. And so that's something I hope to be able to help you guys with, is just eat real food. And that will make a world of difference. If you get your sleep, like we talked a little bit about earlier, that also decreases inflammation. If you optimize your stress, that will also decrease inflammation. I mean, these are the paramount sort of foundational principles, which are all free. They're all easy, but it starts with real food.
Yeah, I got to do exactly what you're saying. And I'm guilty as charged. I mean, I sit here and I'll have like some kind of candy or something like that. I have a sweet tooth. So my weakness is like these candy that I'll just like eat periodically throughout the day just to give me like a little boost. But maybe I need to just shift to like, fruits, for example, that have, some of that sweetness that I'm craving, but is better for you, is natural, and is going to eliminate that inflammation, of course.
Yeah. Or you can go with like 70, 80% cacao in a dark chocolate bar. And put what I do, my healthy snack is I take 1 square of a dark chocolate bar and I put it in my mouth. And then I take a handful of either almonds or whatever nuts I have. In Hawaii, I have to admit, I love macadamia nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And these are not only satiating, they fill that void when you're hungry, but they are super healthy because it's a natural, fat. And fat satiates you. It makes you not hungry. And so I take a handful of nuts and 1 square of dark chocolate, and then it's sweet, and plus it's, got substance, and I'm good. I'm good for, another few hours until my next meal. So that's a good healthy snack to put in place of whatever that candy bar or chocolate treat or thing that you're grabbing for right now. Super easy.
Yeah, I love that suggestion. I'm going to go and pick up some macadamia nuts tonight so that way I can give that a shot because I think that'll work. It's just like in midday, you're just like craving that little snack to get you over the hump and get you to dinner, right? And so like right about now, I'm like looking around like, what can I grab? And it's usually like a piece of candy or something. And I know it's not good for me, but it's convenient, right? But if I had the nuts, maybe that would help to satisfy that craving that I'm feeling.
That's a great, great, great snack.
Yeah.
Nuts, and then just you can reward yourself with a square of a dark chocolate bar. I try to go for at least 70% cacao because those that are less than that have a ton of sugar and things, and this way you're not getting a lot of the sugar and you're just getting the good stuff, which is chocolate. Actually, there's lots of data on how healthy it can be. It has some really cool antioxidants, really cool chemicals in there that are natural. They're not, I just ate today this chocolate bar I found at just at the Trader Joe's, and it literally has 3 ingredients, 1, 2, 3. It has the cacao, the dark chocolate, had a little bit of cane sugar, and the third ingredient, I can't remember now, but it was like some kind of a salt or something else. It was literally 3 ingredients, and I showed my kids. See, I go by what I call the 5-ingredient rule. If I buy anything that has a label, I try to limit it to 5 ingredients or less that I'm familiar with, that I know what they are, that it doesn't sound like it came out of a chemistry lab. So that's another pearl for you. Use the 5-ingredient rule.
Thank goodness that God gave us, chocolate with the 70% cacao, that it's actually good for us because I can't live on rice cakes. Yeah, that's healthy for me, but is it fun? No.
No way. Yeah, go for the dark chocolate.
I like that. Now, we love good food here at the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. You were telling me about some of the food you were eating on your last trip to Portugal, and I'm like, dying over here about how great that all sounds. So, and my wife and I were planning a vacation to Hawaii. Now, this might not actually happen until my kids are off to college, which is like in 2 years. So we might have to get an update from you before I come to Hawaii. But right now, is there a restaurant in Hawaii that you absolutely love that my wife and I can go and check out on our next vacation?
Absolutely, 100%. If you come local where I live, oh my gosh, there's 2 that I would highly recommend. One is called Kintaro's, which is a Japanese steakhouse. It's kind of like a Benihana, but way better. So they cook your food right in front of you on the hibachi grill, which is a lot of fun, and it's just real food. They have obviously the surf and turf, they have the steaks, the seafood, the proteins, but they have a lot of other great. If you're into sushi, there's amazing sushi in Hawaii that's prepared with fresh, local caught wild fish is what I recommend. Don't eat the farm stuff, eat the wild stuff. There's also a fish restaurant that's called the Dolphin, which I highly recommend, which is basically locally caught fresh fish that is out of this world. Once you've had that, you'll stop eating fish anywhere else in the world. So it kind of sucks because you have such a high bar set by the awesome, amazing, fresh caught wild fish in Hawaii. And then you go out to some other place, you're like, this isn't real sushi. I don't know what this stuff is,
See, this
but
is
it
my
sure
problem. This is exactly the problem. I'm going to come to Hawaii. I'm going to have the best sushi in the world because the fish was literally caught like a half hour ago. And then I'm going to come where I live back home in Nashville, Tennessee, a landlocked state. And I'm going to have the sushi and it's going to taste like gas station sushi. Like, what is this? This isn't fish.
You got to come to Hawaii more often, man, because I have that
man.
problem too when I travel. Unless it's somewhere that has access to local caught fish, I just don't eat fish when I'm traveling. I eat it only when I know it's fresh caught and it's not frozen and it's not from a farm. But man, when you get that, there's nothing better, man. Nothing better.
You're living the life, Dr. Hemingway. What can I say, man? You're living in Hawaii, you're surfing, eating great food, great fish, healthy living. You're going to live till like you're 120. And, and I'm going to be over here jealous. So I'll come and visit you. How about that? Is that good?
Anytime, man. Absolutely. Would love to have you.
This has been great. All right. So if our audience, if they want to hire you, maybe to come and speak at their university, where should they go to connect with you and follow up on some of the questions they might have for you?
Oh, awesome. So 2 easy places. One is just on my Instagram, which is at Aloha, like Hawaii, ALOHA, and then surf Doc. So Aloha Surf Doc is my Instagram. I also have one for my podcast that's at Modern Medicine Movement. And my website is modernmedicinemovement.com. But if you go to my Instagram, I have a link tree that has all of my links there. And I would love to, my favorite thing in life really is educating. You know, when I was in school and medical school and residency, I was the chief resident. I did tons of teaching, and I just love to share, you know, high quality information that's not just my opinion, but it's backed by real science. And so I would love to share that with you. So follow me on Instagram, Aloha Surf Doc, or at Modern Medicine Movement, and all my links are there in my bio. So would love to see you.
Love it. And make sure you pick up his book in August of 2022. Again, it's called Preventable, 5 Powerful Practices to Avoid Disease and Build Unshakable Health. Make sure you go and pick up that book, and make sure you follow him on Instagram. Dr. Hemingway, what can I say, man? You're living the life. Just know that you're very fortunate. You're living in the best place in the world, and continued success. I really appreciate your time.
Oh man, thanks for having me, Mike, and really appreciate you guys that are listening. And just remember, eat real food; it'll make all the difference, and it's cost effective in the end. You can do this.
You can do this. Dr. Hemingway is saying, as a college student, you absolutely can do this. So thank you so much. Thank you to our listeners. If you enjoyed this talk with Dr. Hemingway, be sure you like it. Make sure that you share it with other college students on campus, other people in your fraternity, other people in your sorority. And we hope to see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Thanks so much for coming, and we will see you next time.